Holy fuck, Steve. You did it. You made gravity your bitch. Mark's astonished shout echoed through the laboratory as he watched a steel ball float gently above the humming reactor core. Stephen grinned. After decades of research and secret experiments, he'd finally cracked the code. Humanity now wielded the power to manipulate gravity itself. And tonight at the Galactic Summit, the galaxy would learn that the balance of power had irrevocably shifted. Stephen strode confidently onto the summit stage, the small gravity modulation device in his hand. A hush fell over the assembled alien dignitaries as he began his presentation. With a few taps on his control pad, Stephen made the podium rise into the air. Gasps rippled through the audience. Impossible! Some human parlor trick, no doubt, scoffed Pollux, the preeminent Ithorian physicist. His large eyes narrowed skeptically. Stephen just smiled. With another series of inputs, he lifted the entire front row of seats, sending the stunned alien delegates bobbing gently in the air. This is no trick, esteemed guests. Stephen's voice rang out. Humanity has unlocked the secrets of gravity control. We can now generate and manipulate gravitational fields on a massive scale, enabling unprecedented propulsion, shielding, and more. The implications are immense. Panic spread through the Ithorians and other advanced alien races like a contagion. If humans controlled gravity, they could bypass established trade routes, penetrate any planetary defense, and shift the very nature of galactic power. Pollux jumped to his feet, tendrils quivering. This technology must be shared. The galactic community cannot allow one species to hold such an advantage, he demanded shrilly. Other alien leaders nodded in agreement, a rising murmur building. Stephen held up his hands placatingly. I'm afraid that's not possible. This is the result of human ingenuity and determination. We will not hand over such a critical technology. The risks of abuse and destabilization are far too high. However, I assure you it will be used responsibly, in accordance with our laws and ethics. Pollux's mottled green skin flushed with rage. As Stephen fielded an avalanche of frantic questions and protests, he failed to notice a small group of Ithorian extremists slip out of the auditorium. These hardliners had long feared humanity's rapid advancement. In their eyes, this gravity technology was the final straw. It had to be stopped at any cost, even if it meant war. Seizing weapons from the security station, the radicals burst back into the summit hall, firing wildly. Aliens screamed and dove for cover. Stephen reacted instantly, using the gravity device to hurl chairs and tables at the attackers, knocking them sprawling. "Give us the device, human!" bellowed the lead extremist as he struggled back to his feet. "You cannot be allowed to keep this power." Stephen realized with cold certainty that they wouldn't stop. His technology might have ushered in a new age of human ascendance, but now it threatened to plunge the galaxy into chaos and conflict. As a security team subdued the terrorists, Stephen locked eyes with a grim-faced Pollux across the room. The Ithorian leader glanced away, confirming Stephen's suspicion. Pollux had known about the attack, but was either unable or unwilling to stop it. The battle lines were being drawn. Stephen clutched the priceless invention protectively to his chest. The fate of humanity, indeed the future of the entire galaxy, would hinge on his next steps. The political and scientific landscape had just transformed beyond recognition, and he now stood at its treacherous center. Everything had changed. Back on Earth, Stephen and his team wasted no time delving into the intricacies of their groundbreaking gravity-controlled technology. The laboratories buzzed with activity as they pored over data, refined calculations, and debated potential applications. "Imagine the possibilities," exclaimed Samantha, Stephen's lead engineer. "Advanced propulsion systems, artificial gravity for our spacecraft. This could revolutionize space travel." Stephen nodded, his mind racing. "We need to focus on integrating this technology into our existing infrastructure. The sooner we can demonstrate its practical uses, the better our position will be on the galactic stage." As they worked tirelessly, news of their breakthrough spread like wildfire. The Galactic Council, still reeling from the summit incident, convened an emergency meeting to address the implications of humanity's newfound power. In the Grand Council chambers, representatives from various alien races engaged in heated discussions. The Valerians, known for their diplomatic nature, called for cooperation and understanding. "We must approach this new reality with open minds," urged their ambassador. "Collaboration with Earth could lead to great advancements for all." Others were less optimistic. The Zorgans, a militaristic society, viewed humanity's advancement as a direct threat to their dominance. "We cannot allow these upstarts to upset the balance of power," growled their leader, General Zarg. "We must take action before it's too late." Amidst the chaos, an unexpected message arrived for Stephen. It was from Pollux, the Ithorian scientist who had been involved with the extremist attack. Stephen eyed the communication warily, remembering the betrayal he had felt. "Dr. Stephen," Pollux began, his holographic image flickering, "I understand your hesitation, but I implore you to consider a collaboration between our species. By combining our knowledge and resources, we could achieve even greater breakthroughs in gravity control technology." Stephen leaned back in his chair, contemplating the offer. The potential for advancement was tempting, but the trust between them had been shattered. "I'll need time to consider this, Pollux. Our previous encounter doesn't inspire confidence." As Stephen grappled with the decision, his team made significant strides in their research. They developed a prototype spacecraft equipped with a gravity drive, capable of manipulating the fabric of space-time itself. The day of the test flight arrived, and anticipation hung thick in the air. Stephen and his team watched in awe as the sleek vessel lifted off, its gravity drive humming with power. In a blink, the spacecraft vanished, only to reappear moments later on the far side of the solar system. "It worked!" Samantha cheered, her voice echoing through the mission control room. "Faster than light travel without wormholes or jump gates. This changes everything." News of the successful test flight reverberated throughout the galaxy, sending shockwaves through the alien communities. The Galactic Council, recognizing the need for a united front, called for a second summit to address the growing concerns. Stephen found himself thrust into the role of a key figure in Earth's scientific and diplomatic circles. As he prepared for the summit, he couldn't shake the feeling that the challenges ahead would test not only his intellect, but also his perseverance. The summit hall was abuzz with activity as alien delegates from across the galaxy gathered. The air crackled with tension as factions jockeyed for position, some seeking alliances with humanity while others plotted to undermine their efforts. Stephen took his place among the Earth representatives, steeling himself for the discussions to come. Little did he know that danger lurked in the shadows, waiting to strike. As the summit proceedings began, a sudden commotion erupted. Zorgon infiltrators, disguised as members of another delegation, burst into the room, weapons drawn. Their target was clear: Stephen and the gravity control technology he represented. Chaos ensued as the attackers closed in, but Earth's security forces reacted swiftly, engaging the Zorgons in a fierce firefight. Stephen ducked for cover, his heart pounding in his chest. Just when all seemed lost, an unlikely ally emerged. Pollux and a group of Ithorian scientists who had been monitoring the Zorgons' activities sprang into action. Using their own advanced technologies, they helped to neutralize the threat and safeguard Stephen and the other attendees. In the aftermath of the attack, the true extent of the galaxy's divisions became clear. Stephen realized that the path forward would not be easy, but it was more crucial than ever. With the support of Earth's leadership and allied races, Stephen proposed the formation of the Galactic Alliance, an interspecies organization dedicated to fostering cooperation, sharing knowledge, and ensuring the responsible use of advanced technologies like gravity control. The groundwork for the alliance was laid, and Stephen found himself at the center of this new era of galactic relations. The challenges ahead were daunting, with hostile factions like the Zorgons lurking in the shadows, but he knew that the future of humanity and the galaxy itself hung in the balance. As the summit drew to a close, Stephen stepped out into the bustling corridors, his mind buzzing with the implications of all that had transpired. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with dangers and opportunities alike. But one thing was clear: the gravity of his actions would shape the course of history for generations to come. Stephen's comm unit crackled to life as he stood on the bridge of the prototype battlecruiser, the Defiant. "Murray, we've got a situation," came the urgent voice of Admiral Chen. "Zorgon fleet just dropped out of FTL near Proxima Colony. They're moving in fast." "Understood, Admiral. We're on our way," Stephen replied, his eyebrows furrowed. He turned to his crew. "Battle stations. Plot a course for Proxima. Maximum speed." The Defiant's engines thrummed with power as it accelerated, tearing through space at speeds that would have been impossible just weeks ago. Stephen watched the tactical display, his mind racing. This was it, the moment of truth for their new technology. As they neared Proxima, the scene unfolding before them was chaos. Zorgon warships swarmed around the human colony, their energy weapons lighting up space. Alliance ships, including Valyrian and Arcturian vessels, were engaged in a desperate defense. "Gravity control systems online," reported the tactical officer. "Antimatter reactor at full power." Stephen nodded. "Engage primary shields and ready weapons. Let's show these Zorgons what we can do." The Defiant plunged into the fray, its advanced shields shrugging off enemy fire like it was nothing. Stephen barked orders as they maneuvered through the battlefield, their new weapon systems decimating Zorgon ships with pinpoint accuracy. "Sir, we're being hailed," called out the comms officer. It's the Zorgon flagship." The scarred reptilian face of the Zorgon admiral filled the viewscreen. "Surrender now, human, or watch your colony burn," he snarled. Stephen met the alien's gaze coolly. "I don't think so. You're outmatched, Admiral. Stand down your forces and withdraw." The Zorgon cut the transmission with a roar of rage. Moments later, a massive energy blast from the Zorgon flagship lanced towards the Defiant. "Brace for impact," Stephen shouted. But the expected hit never came. Instead, the Defiant's gravity control systems bent the energy around the ship, redirecting it harmlessly into space. "Holy shit," breathed Stephen's XO. "It actually worked." With renewed confidence, the Alliance fleet pressed their advantage. The tide of battle turned swiftly as more ships equipped with the new technology arrived. The Zorgon invasion force, caught off guard by the humans' unexpected capabilities, began to falter. As the last Zorgon ships retreated in disarray, Stephen allowed himself a moment of relief, but it was short-lived. His comm unit buzzed again, this time with dire news from Earth. "Stephen, we've got a breach at the main research facility." Pollux' voice came through, strained and urgent. "Zorgon infiltrators. They're after the gravity control data." "Damn it," Stephen muttered. He turned to his XO. "You have the con. I'm heading back to Earth." As the Defiant set course for home, Stephen's mind raced. They'd won this battle, but the war was not nearly finished. And now, with Zorgon agents potentially in possession of their most vital secrets, the stakes had never been higher. Stephen's heart raced as he materialized on the bridge of the Defiant. Klaxons blared and crewmen rushed to battle stations. "Status report," he barked. His XO's face was grim. "Zorgon infiltrators breached the facility on Earth. They accessed our gravity control databanks before we could lock them down." Stephen swore under his breath. This was a disaster. If the Zorgons replicated their tech, the balance of power would shift dramatically. They needed to act fast. He punched the comm. "Get me Admiral Chen and the Galactic Alliance leadership. Now!" Minutes later, Stephen laid out the situation to grim-faced leaders on the interface. "We have no choice," he said. "We must strike the Zorgon homeworld before they can weaponize our tech. I'm proposing a joint task force for an immediate assault." There were nods of agreement. "You'll lead the operation, Stephen," said Admiral Chen. "We're counting on you." Over the next hours, a fleet assembled. The Defiant was joined by Alliance warships, all equipped with gravity control systems. Stephen paced the bridge as final preparations were made. Pollux materialized beside him. "My warriors are ready," the Ithorian said. "We will not fail you." Stephen nodded grimly. "Let's hope this works." The task force jumped to hyperspace, emerging on the outskirts of Zorgan territory. Stephen gave the order and cloaking fields shimmered to life around the ships. "Advance slowly," he commanded. "Passive scans only." They crept past Zorgan patrols and defense platforms, the gravity systems bending sensor beams around them. Stephen held his breath as they approached the homeworld. Suddenly, alarms blared. "Massive energy spike," shouted the sensor officer. "Zorgon fleet decloaking dead ahead." The view screen lit up with hundreds of Zorgon warships. At their center loomed a monstrous dreadnought. "All ships battle formation," Stephen ordered. "Activate gravity shields." The space between the fleets erupted in hellish light as the Zorgons opened fire. Stephen felt the deck shudder as shots impacted their shields. "Return fire. All ships concentrate on their lead vessels." The Defiant's main gun spoke, a bolt of concentrated gravitational energy lancing out. It struck a Zorgan cruiser amidships, crumpling the vessel like paper. Stephen coordinated with Pollux, using their gravity systems to create swirling vortexes that caught enemy fire and flung it back. Zorgan's ship spun out of control, caught in localized gravity wells. "Sir, we're taking heavy losses on the port flank," his XO reported. Stephen gritted his teeth. "Pollux, it's time. Take your team and get planetside. We'll keep them busy up here." The Ithorian nodded and vanished. Moments later, a stealth shuttle detached from the Defiant's belly, streaking towards the Zorgon homeworld. Stephen refocused on the battle. The prototype battlecruiser was living up to its potential, its weapons tearing through the Zorgan fleet. But more enemy ships kept pouring in. "Sir, new contact." The sensor officer's voice was panicked. "Energy readings off the scale." Stephen's blood ran cold as he saw the massive cannon emerge from the Zorgon dreadnought. A bolt of pure energy lashed out, slicing through an Alliance cruiser like it wasn't even there. "Evasive maneuvers!" Stephen shouted, but it was too late. The cannon fired again and again, punching through their most powerful shields. Ships vanished in balls of fire. Stephen's mind raced. There had to be a way. "All power to the gravity drive," he ordered suddenly. "We're going to create a singularity." His crew stared at him in shock but moved to comply. The Defiant's systems groaned as power surged through them. Stephen's hands flew over the controls, shaping the gravitational fields. A point of absolute darkness formed in space before them, growing rapidly. The Zorgan energy cannon fired again, but this time the blast curved, drawn inexorably into the singularity. Stephen pushed harder, expanding the effect. Zorgan ships began to list, caught in the gravitational pull. Their own weapons fire curved back on them. The massive dreadnought tried to turn, but it was too late. With a silent flash, the singularity collapsed. When the light faded, half the Zorgon fleet was simply gone. "Status of Pollux's team?" Stephen asked, sagging with exhaustion. "They've reached the command center," his XO reported. "Heavy fighting, but they're making progress." Stephen nodded. Now it all came down to them. Stephen's eyes scanned the tactical readouts as the Defiant emerged from hyperspace, the distant planet Zar 9 looming before them. Its surface was a patchwork of craggy mountains and deep valleys, shrouded in a perpetual haze of toxic gases. "Pollux, what do you make of those energy readings?" Stephen asked, gesturing to a cluster of pulsing red dots on the display. The Ithorian leaned in, his elongated neck swaying slightly. "Gravity disruptors. Gorzak's work, no doubt. We'll need to tread carefully." Stephen nodded, his jaw clenching. "All right, team. Listen up. We're going in hot and fast. Our primary objective is to neutralize those disruptors and locate Gorzak." The strike team, a mix of battle-hardened humans and Ithorians, readied their weapons. As the Defiant entered the planet's atmosphere, alarms blared. "Incoming fire!" shouted the tactical officer. Stephen's hands flew over the controls, the ship twisting and diving as energy beams lanced past. "Pollux, ready the gravity shields!" A shimmering field enveloped the Defiant, bending incoming fire away from the hull. The ship shuddered as it touched down in a narrow canyon, kicking up clouds of dust and debris. Move, 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 Stephen barked as the team disembarked, weapons at the ready. They advanced through the rocky terrain, sensors scanning for hostiles. Suddenly, a barrage of plasma bolts erupted from hidden emplacements. Contact front, a soldier yelled, diving for cover. Stephen activated his personal gravity control device, creating a localized field that slowed the incoming fire. Pollux, take the left flank. We'll draw their fire. The Ithorian nodded, gesturing to a group of his warriors. They moved with fluid grace, scaling the canyon walls as if gravity itself bent to their will. Stephen led the charge, his team leapfrogging from cover to cover. The air crackled with energy as gravity fields clashed, distorting the very fabric of space around them. A Zorgon soldier burst from concealment, reptilian features twisted in a snarl. Stephen reacted instantly, altering the gravity around the alien. The Zorgon's leap became an uncontrolled tumble, and a precise shot from Stephen's weapon ended the threat. First disruptor ahead, Pollux called out, his voice carrying over the din of battle. Stephen saw it, a towering construct of alien metal, pulsing with malevolent energy. Cover me! He sprinted forward, dodging fire as his team laid down suppressing volleys. Reaching the disruptor, Stephen interfaced his gravity control systems with the alien tech. His mind raced, unraveling the complex equations that governed its operation. With a final command, the disruptor's energy inverted, imploding in on itself. The shockwave knocked Stephen off his feet, ears ringing. Stephen! Pollux was at his side, helping him up. Are you all right? I'm fine, Stephen grunted, shaking off the disorientation. One down, more to go. As they pressed deeper into the Zorgon stronghold, the resistance grew fiercer. Gravity fields warped and twisted, turning the battlefield into a nightmare of shifting perspectives and impossible geometries. Stephen watched in horror as a young soldier, fresh-faced and eager, was caught in a crossfire of gravitic forces. The man's body contorted, crushed by the conflicting fields before he could even scream. Keep moving, Stephen shouted, pushing down the bile rising in his throat. There would be time to mourn later. They fought their way through corridors of alien metal, past automated defenses and fanatical Zorgon warriors. With each step, the air grew thicker with the stench of ozone and alien blood. Finally, they reached a massive door, reinforced with energy fields that made the air shimmer and warp. This is it, Pollux said, his normally calm voice tight with tension. Gorzak's inner sanctum. Stephen nodded, meeting the eyes of each surviving member of his team. Whatever happens next, it's been an honor serving with you all. Let's finish this. With a deep breath, he interfaced with the door's locking mechanism, preparing to confront the architect of so much destruction and the gravest threat the galaxy had ever known.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.